Yeah, Hare Krishna. Parama Karuna Pohodui John Nitai Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Pohodui John Nitai Gaura Chandra Shabbatada Shadashiromani Kebala Ananda Khanda Shabbatada Shadashira Mani Kebala Ananda Khanda Kebala Ananda Khanda Bhaja Bhaja Bhai Caitanya-charitamrita Shudrida Pishasha Kori Bhaja Bhaja Bhai Ha Bhaja Bhaja Bhai Caitanya-charitamrita Shudrida Pishasha Kori Shudrida Bishashako Vishaya Chariya Shei Roshe Majiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Vishaya Chariya Vishaya Chariya Shei Rashe Majiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Parama Karuna Pohudui Janitai Gaura Chandra Dekho ore Dekho ore bhai Sri Bhubane Nai Emona Doyala Data Dekho ore bhai Sri Dekho ore bhai Sri Bhubane Nai Emona Doyala Data Emona Doyala Data Poshupaki Jude Poshana Bedare Shunijara Gunagata Poshupaki Jude Shunijara Gunagata Poshupaki Jude Pashana Bedare Shunijara Gunagata Poshupaki Jude Shanabhidare Padama Koduna Pohudui Jananitai Gaura Chandra Nitai Gaura Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Puribrajagacharya Ashtatara Sadasha Samachala Abhay Charanarabhina Bhakti Vedanta Shami Shri Prabhupada Ki Ishkana Pratisthata Acharya Shri Prabhupada Ki Ananta Gauri Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Shamaved Gaur Bhakta Vrindagi Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Shri Shinitai Gaur Shitanata Pramanande. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jutaparakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagarajatam Shahagana Raganatam Vitam Tang Shajivam Shadvaitam Shavadutam Parijanashaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Shahagana Lalita Shibishakang Vitangscha Mantra Guru Ajokta Shiko Guru Gon Tacharane Age Korea Bondon Panchakalpa Trubhyesh Chakripashan Beba Chapoditanam Pavaneba Vaishnaveba Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shannavari Prashtatade Shatarine. We're reading from Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur's Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, 7th chapter, Adi Khanda. Jai 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 Maheshwar Gauda Chandra Jai Jai Vishwambar Priya Bhakta Vrinda. We can see in the opening statement, Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur, he displays such the mood of the Vaishnava. He's Jai Jai Mahesha Gauchandra is glorifying the Lord, and Jai Jai Vishwambar Priya Bhakta Vrinda. Those who are Vishwambar Priya, in other words, those whose dear heart, whose heart is Vishwambara, those whose their dearmost is Vishwambara. Jai Jai, all glories to them. So at this time, where Nimai, he's in Navadip and he's very mischievous, and Pita Mata Kahare Na Kore Prabhu Bhoy Visvarupa Agraja Dekile Namra Hoy. His Pita Mata, Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata, they gave up the effort of trying to instruct Vishwambara, because Prabhu, na kore Prabhu bhai, he wasn't afraid. Na kore Prabhu bhai, he wasn't afraid of them, and they couldn't, like parents do, they threaten and they scare the child, and by that, well, he just wouldn't take any concern about what they said. So they stopped trying to instruct him. But Visvarupa Agraja Dekile Namrahoy, Nimai was very much humble and soft in the presence of Visvarupa. Visvarupa Dekile Namrahoy. He became very humble. In other words, Visvarupa had a great influence on the consciousness of Sachinandan. And now, Vrindavandas Thakur, we just have to reflect on what we're hearing. Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, he explains that Krishna Lila, Bhagavate Kohe Bed Vyas. Krishna Lila is described by Vyasadeva Bhagavate in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Lila Vyas Vrindavan Das. And the same Vyas Muni, he's appeared in Navadip Dham, he lived in Mamgachi, Vyas Muni. Just shortly after the departure of Sri Sachinandan Gaudhari, we hear in the Srivas Angane, in a courtyard of Srivas Thakur, one time Sachinandan, he bestowed his mercy on the mother of Vrindavandas Thakur, Narayani, and at that time she was only 4 years old. So when she grew up and gave birth to Vrindavandas Thakur, then that was already Mahaprabhu's pastimes had come to an end. But Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj, because he's a disciple of Lord Nityananda, Vrindavandas Thakur, a disciple of Lord Nityananda, and through the mercy of Lord Nityananda, everything was revealed to him in his heart. And Krishna Das Kaviraj goes to, just as Vyas Muni is the compiler of Srimad Bhagavatam, so Vrindavandas Thakur, he's compiled Chaitanya Bhagavat. That's the Bhagavatam of Chaitanya Lila. And the same Vyas Muni has compiled it. So he's describing everything, actually the authorized. Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami explains the authorized. Describe autobiographer of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and particularly in Navadip Dham. So everything we know, well, mostly our understanding of the pastimes of Navadip and Mahaprabhu's activities are revealed by Sri Vrindavandas Thakur. And at one time he actually explains that Monodiye Shuno Bhai, Sri Chaitanya Klotar, Monodiye, with attention, Shuno Bhai. Listen, brother, Sri Chaitanya Klotar, the descriptions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bhakti Shange Jai Jai Leela Koilo Jota Jota. Because Jota Jota, as it is, Bhakti Shange, with his devotees, Jai Jai Leela Koilo, all of the pastimes that he performed, one after another, Jai Jai Leela Koilo, Jota Jota, as it is. Monodiye Shunobai, Sri Chaitanya Kota. You listen very attentively. to Vrindavan Thakur's description, because he's describing it as it happened. So therefore, just by hearing attentively Vrindavan Thakur's poetry, we can actually see the Navadip Nitya Lila. Gaurangir gunete chure Nitya Lila taresh pure. Nitya Lila taresh pure. The eternal pastimes of the Lord can manifest in the heart of Gaurangir gunete chure, the person who cries when he considers the qualities of Gauranga. So now Sri Vrindavan Thakur, he's describing the character of Visvarupa. He's just been introduced the key role that he is playing in the pastimes of the Lord Visvarupa. Nimai, he ignored the instructions of his mother and father, but he was very, very respectful to Visvarupa. So he's playing a very important role. And now Vrindavan Thakur is going to describe his character. Prabhur Agraja Visvarup Bhagwan Ajanma Birokta Sharvagunir Nidhan. Prabhur Agraja, the Lord's elder brother, Visvarup Bhagwan. He's the Supreme Lord. Vrindavan Thakur will explain later specifically that Nityananda Swarup Abed Sharir, non-different body than Lord Nityananda's. Vishwaranda Swarup Abed Sharir, non-different body than Lord Nityananda's. So he's Visvarup Bhagwan. And Ajanma Birokta means that he's detached. Birokta, he detached from birth. He wasn't at all interested in material sense enjoyment from birth. Ajanma Birokta, Sarvagunir Nidhan. And he is the treasure house, Nidhan, the treasure house of Sarvagun, all good qualities. Sarvagune Bidhan. Shrabane, Bodhane, Mone, Shabendriya Gone, Krishna Bhakti Bine Arna Bolena Shune. Shrabane, with his hearing, Bodhane, means his speech, Bodhane, Mone, his mind, Shabendriya Gone, with all of his senses. We're actually beginning a lesson, a Zubadesh in Bhagavad Bhakti, how to perform Krishna Bhakti, from the example of Visvarupa, that Shrabane, Bodhane, Mone, hearing, speaking, thinking, Shabendriya Gone, with all of his senses. Just like in Mayapur, we're very fortunate because just by being in Mayapur, or paying obeisances, or touching the Gaur Mandal Bhumi, we are with our senses serving the Lord, because it's non-different from the Lord. So Savendriya Gone, all of our senses can easily, just by being in the Dham, because by being present in the Dham, you're serving the Lord. So you're serving the Lord with all of your senses, just by being in the Dham. Savendriya Gone. Krishna Bhakti Bine Arna Bolena Shune. Apart from devotional service to Krishna, he didn't hear anything, he didn't speak anything. Nirabhadhi Thake Sharva Vaishnaver Shange Krishna Kotha Krishna Bhakti Krishna Puja Ronge. Nirabhadhi all the time, Thake Vaishnaver Shange. He didn't associate with anybody apart from Vaishnavas. And Krishna Kotha, talking Krishna Bhakti, serving, loving Krishna, Krishna Puja, worshipping the Lord. Range, in this way he enjoyed his life. He would rise early in the morning and take Ganga Snan, and then he would come to the puja room, and the Mishra, Jagannath Mishra, there were Brahmins. He was worshipping the deities in the house, Shalagam Shila. So he spent all his time in the deity room, or if he wasn't doing that, take prasad and take Ganga Snan, those things, and then the rest of the time he would be in Advaita Shabai, where all the Vaishnavas every day. And now, after describing the character of Visvarupa, that he's completely absorbed in Bhagavad Bhakti, he spends all his time in the home of Advaita Acharya with the Vaishnavas, puja and seva, Krishna Bhakti and Krishna Katha, discussing Krishna, worshipping Krishna and loving Krishna in the association of the devotees in Srila Advaita Acharya's assembly. And now he's describing how his attitude towards Vishwambara. It's very detailed, actually. His attitude is described now. How he's thinking about Vishwambara. Jota amanushi karma nirabari kore ei bhuji khelena Krishna ei shishu sharire. Visvarupa, we just heard that he's Bhagavan, he's the Lord, but he doesn't act in such a way, he doesn't know that Vishwambara is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's thinking he's his little brother. And Jagannath Mishra, he doesn't know that, he doesn't think that. Even in a dream one time, an effulgent Brahman appeared to Jagannath Mishra after he gave Nimai some chastisement, and he said, your Mishra, your chastisement, it's useless. It's not required at all. Your son he's the repository of all divine knowledge. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And you're chastising him is completely inappropriate. And Jagannath Mishra replied, Mishra kohe Deb Shiti Muni Kani Noi. Deb Shiti Muni Kani Noi. He can be a great Muni, a Shiti, a perfected being, or even the Lord himself. Jai Shri Bodahok Matra Amatanoi. No matter how great he is, as far as I'm concerned, Amar Tanai, he's my son. So, Visvarupa is not thinking that he's God, he's thinking he's Yoda. But he has this Buchi, seeing all the amanushi karma nirabade kori that he performs. Like, for example, he appeared in front of the Brahmin and ate the rice 3 times. And when he went, he's called by Jagannath Mishra to bring the book, and he comes and he can hear the ankle bells. I mean, Visvarupa was there when all of this is happening, even though it's not mentioned, but he's the older brother, he's there, he's seeing these things, the footprints around the house. And the mystical activities when Sachinandan is disturbing the baths of all the Brahmins and the respectable residents of Navadip, and they all go and complain, the Brahmonair, Shammelon, and they all gather and describe all the different things. And in Visvarupa, he appears on a different path, looking like he'd never been to take bath at all. And Jagannath Mishra, he's wondering, how is this possible, that this mystical child. And Visvarupa is also seeing this. Putra darshana ne guchilo bichar, shneha punno hoilo duha kehun kichu ar. He'd just forget completely when Nimai would come down the path from the Ganga. Putra darshanande guchilo bichar. He just forgot completely about all of what the Brahmins said and how could they say that, and he didn't go to the Ganga. Putra darshanande, seeing sneha ponno hoilo and duha akichin. They became completely absorbed in affection. They're so affectionate. So much affection they had for Nimai. So seeing all of these amazing, extraordinary activities of Visvarupa, Buji, Kelena Krishna Shishu Sharire. I think that Krishna is playing through this Shishu Sharire, through this child's body. I think Krishna is playing. However, motto Chinte Visvarupa Mahashai. kahare na bange totta swakarma korai. Emote chinte Visvarupa Mahashaya. He's thinking like that. Emote chinte. Isn't this fascinating? He's describing the illusion that he's in. Emote chinte. He's not. I think Krishna is playing in the child's body. It's like a new. But he's Nityananda. He's Lord Balaram. But he's playing like this. He completely becomes forgetful that he's Balaram. Otherwise, how could he play? How could he respond? How could he not think that Satchidananda is Supreme Lord? How could he not think that? He has to get out of the idea that he's God. He becomes completely absorbed in the role of Visvarupa. Emota Chinto Visvarupa, he's thinking, maybe this boy, the Krishna is playing in his form. Kaharena, but he didn't speak it. Kaharena, kaharena. Bange tattvas, because bange tattva, what does that mean? He did bange tattva. He didn't want to break the secret. He didn't want to bange tattva. He didn't want to disclose the secret. Swakarma karai, and then he carried on with his own activity. Now this is very interesting. That if what we're going to discuss today is Visvarupa Sannyas. So if he's thinking that Nimai is the Supreme Lord, then why would he leave home and take sannyas? And even if he knows because he's Balaram, then why would he do that? Obviously he's playing Leela. Why would he take sannyas to search out the Lord if the Lord's living in his home? He'd just stay at home. So his sannyas is special. There's a reason for it. Visvarupa comes to why. We can consider that this evening. Why he takes sannyas? What role does that have in the pastimes? Why he serves the Lord in that way? So he was expecting that, but he didn't say that to anybody. And now Vrindavandas Thakur describes Visvarup's his attitude towards people in general. His attitude towards people in general. Jagat Pramata, Dan Putra Bidda Roshe, Jagat Pramata, those who are mad in the material world. Jagat Pramata means people in the material world who are mad with Dan Putra Bidda Rosh. Dan, money, Putra, family, Bidda, learning. Well, that's interesting. I mean, nowadays people they're not in the Vidya Rosh, studying books, studying Vyakaran. They're not in Vidya Rosh. They're in whatever, at best they entertainment, music, movies, some sports. Apart from their Dan and Putra, their family and their money, apart from that, they're in recreation and sports. But Vidya Rosh, just see the aristocratic samaj in which Sri Satchidananda appears to perform his pastimes. It's not just some ordinary bunch of people. Their Maya is learning. The Brahmins of Navadip, Vidya Rosh. But they're described as Jagat Pramata. They're materially bewildered. But in Navadip, the materially bewildered people are absorbed in Vidya Rosh. Study Sanskrit and debate and logic and grammar and poetry. What an elevated society. And when Dvijamani, the jewel of the twice born, he comes and he becomes the Navadip Chandra, the moon of all the Brahmins of Navadip. And he's so much attractive to them because of his learning. But in order to appreciate that, first we need to understand the society in which Sri Satchidananda is appearing and performing his lila. But these people, Jagat Pramata, Dan Putra Vidya Roshe, who were absorbed in these things, Vidya and family and learning and Jagat Pramata, they, Vaishnav Dekile, when they saw Vaishnavas, Matro Shobe Uba Hashe, they would laugh. And then actually Vrindavandas Thakur explains that they would compose poetry. They would compose poetry, insulting the Vaishnavas. I mean, now what do people do? They throw rocks at you and yell at you, spit at you. In Navadip, in order to be critical, that they would compose verses insulting them. The Brahmins would compose verses insulting the Vaishnavas. You drench yourself with tears of spiritual emotions, but your poverty and misery is not alleviated, etc. You could read those poems of the Jagat Pramata, the bewildered Brahmins of Navadip. You could read the way that they describe the Vaishnavas. So a motto, Bole Krishna Bhakti Shunna Jon. A motto. Like this. Bole Krishna Bhakti Shunna. Krishna Bhakti Shunna. Those who have no devotion for Krishna. Krishna Bhakti Shunna Jon. A motto Bole. They would speak like this. Shuni Mahadukha Pai Bhagavad Gan. And when the devotees, Bhagavad Gan, when they would hear these Jagat Pramata, these bewildered Brahmins of Navadip, insulting them, Dukhapai. They would be unhappy. They felt great sorrow. Dukhabaropai Visvarupa Bhagavan Nashuni Abhishta Krishna Chandra Akhyan. Dukhabaropai Visvarupa Bhagavan. Now, all the Bhagavad Gan, they're all feeling unhappy the way that the common people were behaving, but Dukhabaropai Visvarupa Bhagavan. Visvarupa, for him it was very painful. Dukhabaropai Visvarupa Bhagavan. Why was it very painful? Not that because he just didn't like them, because they were material, they were Jagat Pramata. No, because Nashune Abhishta Krishna Chandra Akhyan. Krishna Chandra Akhyan. The descriptions of Krishna Chandra. Nashune, not hearing that in their association. And that Krishna Charan is his Abhishto. Abhishto. You know, Abhishto means his desire. Is Krishna Chandra Akhyan. Descriptions of Krishna Chandra. Nashuni Abhishta Krishna Chandra. Abhishta, his desired. Just like we pray, Sri Chaitanya Mano Abhishtam Shtapitam Janabhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Sri Chaitanya Mano Abhishtam, the desire of Sri Chaitanya. Stapitam Janabhutale, who knew what that was and was able to establish that in this world by his literature, Shri Rupa Goswami. So Abhishta, the desire. So Nashuni Abhishta Krishna Chandra Akhyan, his desired glorification. You could say his desired hearing the glorification, or even you can say that the glorification of his desired Lord. In either case, Baropai, Baro Dukha, Baropai, Dukha Baropai Visvarupa Bhagavan. Gita Bhagavat, J.J. John Ba Parai, Gita Bhagavat, the Gita and Bhagavatam, J.J. John Ba Parai, those who study and read and teach, Parai, they teach. Yeah. Krishna Bhakti Bhakya, Korana Aishe Jibai, Korana Aishe Jibai, on their tongue, Krishna Bhakti Bhakya. Descriptions of Krishna Bhakti, na ashay jibai, do not appear on their tongue. So therefore, dukhe, in great unhappiness, dukhe, Visvarupa Prabhu, mani mani gone. Mani mani gone means he's saying in his mind. Just like when we do that sometimes. So gan, like Gita gan, gan means a song, to sing. So mani mani gone, he's saying it again and again in his mind. Mani na dekhi bo lok mukha chale jai bon. It's so beautiful, man. I'll read that again. Dukhi Visvarupa Prabhu mani mani gone, na dekhi bo lok mukha chole joy bone. Na dekibo lok muk, the faces of those people who are not glorifying Abhishta Krishna Charan, who are not glorifying my worshipable Lord. Na dekibo lok mukhe. I don't want to see their faces. I don't want to see their faces. Because it's so painful for me. Right? Chole boro, chole jai bone. I'm going to the forest. So that was his attitude to the people in general. So that's the person that Visvarupa is described. Ushikale, Visvarupa Kori Ganga Shnan. Ushikale in the morning. Kori Visvarupa Ganga Shnan takes his bath in Ma Ganga early in the morning. Advaita Shabai Ashi Hoy Upashtan. Advaita Shabai, where Advaita Acharya and all of the Vaishnavas have assembled. Ashi Hoy Upashtan. He comes there and he presents himself. Upashtan. He remains there. Advaita Shabai Ashi Hoy Upashtan. He goes and presents himself in the association of the Advaita Shabai. So it's interesting that we can understand that Srila Advaita Acharya is the senior most Vaishnava amongst the Shomelan, the Vaishnava Shobha, the society of Vaishnavas in Navadip. Srila Advaita Thakur, he is the senior most, and everybody assembles at his house. And now Vrindavandas Thakur, because he has the Advaita Shabai, and this is the Navadip society of Mahaprabhu's associates. Gauranga Shungi Gone, Nitta Shitha Korimone, Srila Narottam Das Thakur explains, they're all eternal associates. Advaita Thakur, Shivash Thakur, Gadada Pandit, Nityananda Prabhu. In any case, Nityananda Prabhu, he's not in Navadip now. But Shivash Thakur and Advaita Thakur, they are the two great Vaishnavas. And when this is also can be seen when we were discussing in the GBC SBT, Sri Caitanya-charitamrita celebration program, when the Vaishnavas, Gauda Hoite Vaishnava Ashayat Chindui Shota, Mahaprabhu Bhakta Shab, Mahabhagavata, all devotees of Mahaprabhu, 200 of them had arrived on the banks of the Narendra Sarovar, Jagannath Puri. So Gopinath Acharya and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Prataparuja Maharaj on the roof, they are watching. And Gopinath Acharya, he's describing one after, he begins by describing Advaita Acharya and Shivashtanga. First Sarutamada and Govinda, they come with garlands and prasad of Lord Jagannath, and they offer them to Advaita Acharya. So he's the senior Vaishnava in the associate in the Navadip Vaishnava Samaj. Now this person, when Visvarupa would arrive, having taken his Ganga Snan and worshipped the deity at home, he would go to Advaita Shabai. When Advaita Thakur would see Visvarupa, it describes, Vrindavandas Thakur describes, Puja Chari, Visvarupa Dori Kore Khale. Puja Chari, he would stop worshipping the deity. He would be in the middle of worshipping the deity, he would stop that. Visvarupa Dori Kore Khale, and he would embrace Visvarupa. Anande Vaishnav Shab Hari Hari Bole. Anande Vaishnav Shab Hari Hari Bole. When Advaita Thakur would stop doing the puja and would get up and embrace Visvarupa, Anande Vaishnav Shab Hari Hari Bole. In great bliss, all of the Vaishnavas would chant Hari Hari. What a group of Vaishnavas to associate with. It's so soft-hearted. He would stop doing the puja and embrace Visvarupa. Sharva Shastre Bhyaken Krishna Bhakti Shar Shunya Advaita Shuke Kauren Hunkar Sharva Shastre Vyakon Krishna Bhakti Shar. He would discuss that devotional service is the essence of all Shastras. And Sarva Shastre Vyakya means quoting from all the various Shastras. Sarva Shastre Vyakya, Krishna Bhakti Shar. He would establish the conclusion of Krishna Bhakti. That is the essence. Sarva Shastre Krishna Bhakti. Shunya. And when Advaita Thakur would hear Visvarup's description of Sarva Shastra, how Krishna Bhakti is the essence of all Shastras, when Advaita Thakur would hear that, Shunya, Advaita Shukhe Koren Hunka. In great happiness, Koren Hunka, he would yell out, right? He would make loud noise. Hunka, loudly he would yell out in great happiness when he would hear Visvarupa discuss that Krishna Bhakti is the essence of all the Shastras. So this is the daily activities in Navadip. Visvarupa, Advaita Thakur, all the Vaishnavas are there. Visvarupa would come, Advaita Thakur would stop doing puja, stand up, embrace him to his chest. All the devotees would go, Hari Hari. And then Visvarupa would discuss Krishna Bhakti, and quote all different Shastras, and then Advaita Thakur would yell loudly in such happiness. So one day, or every day actually, Sachimata would finish the cooking and then she would send Visvarupa, she would send Vishwambar to bring him back for lunch. So now Vrindavan's Thakur, he describes that form. That this is these pastimes. These pastimes are the Adikanda, which Srila Vrindavan Thakur explains in 19 chapters. Adikanda, 19 chapters. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he summarizes in 4 chapters in the Adi Lila, chapters 13 to 17. And each chapter is describing a 5-year period. And he divides the Navadip pastimes into 4 periods: Balya, Pauganda, Joban, Kishore. 5-year periods. So this period is the Balya, the 1 to 5. After this starts Vidyalila. So Srila Vrindavan Thakur, actually Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Sri Caitanya-charitamrita, chapter 13, Adi Lila, he says that E mote nana chole ashajadek I balabha prakatiyo paschat lukai. E mote nana bhave in different ways in the bhalbhab, at the time when he's a child, prakatiyo, he manifests his Aishajya as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nana chole ashajadek I balbhab prakatiyo. It particularly, just like he's a balbhab, means he's like a little, that's an infant. Balbhab prakatiyo. So he, in his innocence, he just displays his opulence. Like, you know, when he's on the shoulders of the 2 thieves, he's enjoying that, and he doesn't mind. And they think they're taking him to their home to steal the ornaments, and then they bring him down and place him in front of Jagannath Mishra. Right? So sometimes he just doesn't care. He just shows his opulence. And the ankle bells, Jagannath Mishra calls him, bring the book. And he comes and hear the ankle bells because he's not covering it. He's just like a little child, just like an effervescent of his supremacy. Sometimes it spills over. Balbhab prakatiyo. In his childhood times, it manifests. Paschat lukai. But Paschat, after that, lukai, he keeps it within. When he's in the Vidyalila, he doesn't do that. But in the Bal Lila, it spills over, like on the Ganga. And he's saying to them, I'm Lord Narayan, you meditate on me. He's eating the offerings. He doesn't care because he's like... It's later when he becomes older, and in Vidya Lila, he's more, you could say, responsible. Not like a little child. So this is the description, that form. Even he just walks around, he bewilders all the Vaishnavas. When they see this form, they become bewildered just by seeing this form. Right? Balbhab prakatiyo, because it manifests in his childhood pastimes. Prati ange nirupam labanya shima. Prati ange, each limb, prati ange. Nirupam, the such beauty. Labanya shimha, that it defies the extremities of delicate beauty. Labanya shimha, the furthest extremities of delicate beauty. Every limb, prati ange, nirupam, is so beautifully formed. Koti chandranahe ek naker upam. Ek naker upama, that the effulgence of one of his fingernails, koti chandranahi ek. The radiance of millions and millions of moons doesn't compare to the effulgence of one of his fingernails. And he's just covered in dust and a little string around his waist with a bell. And he's calling Visvarupa. Visvarup's significantly older. He's going to take sannyasa. So he's at least in his teens. And Nima is less than 5. So he's 12 or 13. He's a lot older, his big brother. He's holding him by the dhoti. Bhochane Aishe Bhai, Dakiye Janani, Agraja Bashantore Chalaya Apani, Bhochane Ashe, come to eat. Bhochane Ashe Bhai, Dakiye Janani, mother is calling you to come to eat. Agraja Bashantore, he's holding his dhoti. He goes into the assembly, all the Vaishnavas, he's holding his dhoti. Maybe they're standing up. He's holding his dhoti. Bhochane Ashe Bhai, Dakane Janani. Right? He doesn't know much, he's just got to give that message. Deki She Mohanrup Sharva Bhaktagan. Deki She Mohanrup Sharva Bhaktagan. When all the devotees, Deki She Mohanrup, they saw that bewildering form, Shtagita hoy shabe kore nirakan shtagita. That means stunned. Right? Stunned. Shtagito. Shtagito. Hoya shabe kore nirakan. And they just became, you could say, unable to move. Shtagito. Just seeing that form. Shamadhi prai hoye che bhaktagane. Shamadhi prai. Almost shamadhi. Right? The high level of complete absorption reached by the Mahabhagavata, Mahabhajogis, Samadhi Prai, Hoeche, they're almost in that Samadhi stage. Seeing that Mohan Rup, bewildering form, enchanting form, Mohan Rup. Samadhi Prai Hoeche Bhaktagane, Krishna Kotan Karuna Aishay Badane. Krishna Kotan Na Aishay. Na Karu Aishay Badane. No one could even speak about Krishna anymore. They were so, just seeing the form. We're hearing that in different ways, different groups of devotees. These people, these devotees in the house of Advaita Thakur, they're not ordinary devotees who've just come there. They're coming to play that Leela. They're doing Sankirtan with Advaita Thakur and discussing Krishna Bhakti with Visvarupa in Advaita Bhavan. These are not ordinary people. So, Gauranga Shangi Gone Nitta Shita Kori Mone. They're Nitta Shita. And they've come just to do that. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Anyway, I mean, some even just come for some brief association. Maybe the flower garland guy or the Brahmins and the milk. There's that incident when a little later Mahaprabhu was going through Navadip and they're saying, hey, like you came before to my home, come and take rice. But that's all we hear of those people. But they're also not ordinary. That's enough. A few moments of seva to the Lord. They're meditating on Him the whole life. Like Prabhupada described Kolavecha Shidha. And I want to get sitting on the, here in Shivashangam, Mahaprabhu is sitting on the Singhasan of Shivash Thakur. And he's saying, I want to give you benediction. I want to give you boon. Ask something. I mean, very, very merciful. You ask something. And I'll make you the Lord of a universe. I'll give you 8 mystic cities. Just think about it. Bhakti Vrinda. You could have the 8 mystic cities. Would you not be interested? I'd have to think about that for a while. 8 mystic cities. That'd be pretty interesting. And Mahaprabhu said, you want them? And he says, I won't even ask for that. You know, we'd probably say, well, can I have a few things? I'll take the mystic city thing and also perpetual bhakti to you. How's that? But that's because he's pure devotee. He doesn't care about anything. Ananda bhakta. Doesn't care about anything else. So, and Mahaprabhu says, so what do you want? I just want to be the banana seller. Why? Because I can think about you. Because I can see you at least once a day. I can see you at least once a day. Just give me that life after life. So these devotees, they come just for this moment. Just because Vrindavan Thakur can explain their reaction to his form. And in that way we can appreciate how divine his form is. Because these bhaktas who have given up everything and every day they assemble and they do sadhan bhakti and they do Krishna discussions and hearing, they couldn't even speak about Krishna. So just imagine that form. And Vrindavan Thakur, he explains it's like how in Brajabhumi, because Sri Narottam Das Thakur Mahashai, he sings that Brajendra Nandana Jai Shachishuta Hoilo Shay. Shachishuta, the darling of Sachimata, Shay Brajendra Nandan, he's the darling of the king of Braj. Balarama Hoilo Nitai. So, just as the cowherd residents of Vrindavan, the cowherd ladies and the cowherd men, they were more attracted to Krishna than their own children. And the calves, when Krishna expanded as the calves, they were more attracted to him than their own calves. He's explaining that in terms of these Navadip Basis, and when they became Shtagito and Shamadhi Prai, and they became completely overwhelmed with seeing the beautiful form. So he's using that to describe it. So it's interesting. We can understand something about it. But now particularly Srila Vrindavan Thakur, he'll describe Advaita Thakur's attitude and perception of Vishwambhar. And it's very extraordinary. Mani Mani Chintai Advaita Mahashai Prakrita Manush Kobo A Balak Noi. Prakrita Manush. When Advaita Thakur, he's seeing all of this. He's there. And he's seeing Nimai come and hold the dhoti, and Janani Dake, Bojan Aishe, come for lunch. And he's seeing all the devotees just looking at that form, become speechless. So Advaita Thakur, he says that Prakrita Manush Kabo E Balagnai, this boy is not material. This boy is not material. Now that's interesting, because that same Advaita Thakur, he's the person who prayed Tulasi Dalamatrena, Jalasha Chulu Kalenava, Bikranetam Sham Atmanam Bhaktebhyo Bhaktavachala. When he read in the Gautam Tantra that just a little bit of Tulasi Dala, one Tulasi leaf, Jalasha Chulu Kalenava, and the amount of Gangajal you can keep in your chuluka, your palm, Bikranetam Sam Atmanam. If you offer that to the Lord with devotion, he becomes so satisfied that he sells himself to you. He gives himself to you in return. Bhaktebhyo Bhaktavatsala. Because he's so dear to a devotee. So, hearing this, he sat in Shantipur on the bank of Maganga, and he worshipped the Lord with Gangajal and Tulasi leaves, his Shalagram Shila. And he prayed that he's Mahavishnu, but he prayed that you appear, because only you, who are Putit Pavan, the savior of the most fallen, you can come to bestow this prema, Braja prema. You have to personally come to bestow Braja prema through Nam Sankirtan in Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga Nam Rupe Krishna Avatar Nam Hoite Hoy Shabda Jagat Nishtar Kali Yuga, yeah. Namane pracha toti lage pita borna Chaitanya avatar. For the purpose of establishing toti lage, the name which gives Braja Prem. So he prayed, Advaita Thakur prayed for that Lord to personally come. And he's there, he's in the next door neighbor, Sri Bhajangan and Advaita Bhavan. But he doesn't know that boy is the Supreme Lord who I prayed for. But he's thinking, Mani Mani Chintai Advaita Mahashai. He's thinking, just imagine what's going on in the mind of Advaita Thakur. Well, here Vrindavanas Thakur is revealing it to us. Mani Mani Chintai Advaita Mahashai. He's thinking, Prakrita Manush To'ai Balok Noi. This boy is not material. But he's not, it's like he's on the edge. It's like on the edge. Chintaya Advaita Chitte Deki Bishrambar. And Deki Bishrambar, when he would see Bishrambar, then Chintaya Advaita Chitte, in his heart, he would be thinking, Mor Chitta Hare Shishu Parama Shundur. Mor Chitta Hare Shishu Parama Shundur. This Shishu, who is Parama Shundur, extremely beautiful, Mor Chitta Hare, steals my heart. Mor Chitta Harite, Ki Pare Anna Jon. Mor Chitta Harite, to steal my heart. Ki Pare, who can do that? Anna Jon, apart from my Prabhu. Eba Moha Prabhu Mohe Mormon. This is bewildering me. I think is my Prabhu. Who else can steal away my heart in that way? So, just at that moment that Sachinandan is taking Visvarupa back for lunch, just at that moment he's holding the dhoti, and maybe he's pulling the dhoti, but then when they're walking, he's behind and he's holding on to Visvarupa's dhoti. Visvarupa will be going. So as he's going, and Advaita Thakur, he's seeing this whole incident, he comes. Sarvabhuta Hriday Thakur Vishambhar, because he's Sarvabhuta Hriday Thakur. He stays in the heart of all living beings. Sarvabhuta Hriday Thakur Vishambhar, he's in the heart of all beings. Chintite Advaita Jata Chole Jai Ghor. Just at the time he was going to his home, at that time Advaita Thakur would be thinking like this. So this is a very interesting description that Srila Vrindavan Thakur is making. That there is a gradual revelation of the Bhagavata, of the divinity of Sri Sachinandan, Gauranga, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Navadip Dham. He gradually reveals it. It becomes a climax. And here we can see the beginning of the relationships where they're thinking, both Visvarupa is thinking, Advaita Thakur, he's thinking, but no one is speaking. Visvarupa would see these divine pastimes, but he's not speaking it. The Brahmin who saw Sachinandan reveal his form and he said, you can't tell anyone this. So they're not, although these opulent occasions, these divine occasions, they manifest, as we mentioned before, and Visvarupa would see those, but still there's no public recognition that he's the Supreme Lord. And even Mahaprabhu, he goes through the whole Vidyalila period in this way, but still everybody, they're all eternal associates. They're not randomly there, on the bus, you got a ticket, 5 rupees. It's not like Navadip. It's a whole, their whole village, everyone is thinking of Nimai when he's at the toll of Gangadas Pandit. And not tomorrow, but the next evening we'll hear about Nimai going to school, beginning his studies with Gangadas Pandit. So everybody was absorbed in him. Everything he did was extraordinary. Dvijamani, the jewel of the Brahmin society, Navadip Chandra, the moon of Navadip, he absorbed everybody's mind. Just like he's here absorbing the mind in such a very extraordinary way of the most exalted Vaishnava in Navadip. The great sannyasis, great acharyas, and they become so absorbed in a child.
So this way, Vrindavan's Thakur, he's describing the environment. They don't know he's God. And he's doing his Vidya Leela, but all the Vaishnavas are in love with him. But they're so much frustrated because he's not doing Sankirtan, Krishna Bhakti and Shravanam and Kirtanam with them. He's just doing the Vidya Leela. And they prostrated themselves at the bank of Ma Ganga and prayed, "Oh Ma Ganga, doyamoy puti paboni, please make Nimai a devotee and make him become completely absorbed. And so we can associate with him." And because now we're not allowed to, it's like, it's not appropriate. Even he makes fun of us. But we want, if he became a Vaishnava, and he becomes. When Sri Ram, the younger brother of Srivas Thakur, he hears that Nimai has come back from Navadip, and he says, "Parama Adbhut Kotar, Parama Ashambhab, Shino Bhai, Parama Adbhut Kotar." The most amazing thing, Parama Ashambhab, the impossible has happened. Nimai Pandit Hoilo Parama Vaishnav. Unbelievable. Nimai Pandit Hoilo Parama Vaishnav. He's changed completely. So then the devotees, their hearts are so much full of joy, and they're doing Sankirtan with Nimai. And then after a year, after some time, not in the beginning, he reveals himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's a whole nother experience. And when he here in Srivashangan in front of Srivas Thakur's temple, and Srivas Thakur is doing puja, and Sachinandan's kicking on the door. "Kaha puja koho, kaha dhyan, jaha puja, kocho deko bidhaman." Who you're worshipping, who you're meditating on. Jaha puja kocho deko bidhaman. The person you're worshipping, look, I am present here. Shankar Chakra Pada Gadma, what's that? Chatur Bhuj. Deki Boshiachin, Birashane, Vishwambar, Shankar Chakra, Gada Padma Dhar, and his forearm formed. And then he says, he chastises Srivas Thakur. "Ota din na jane ama prakash." Why you didn't recognize me for so many days? Why you didn't recognize me? Well, he was covering himself. So Advaita Thakur, he's thinking, I think this boy is my Prabhu, but it's not, no one's speaking it. Only till later. But all the time they're thinking about it, all the time they're desiring it. Why is he saying that? Because maybe this is true. Why else would he say that? Because this is my heart's desire. If this could be my Prabhu. So they're all desiring. They're all in love with him. Na bhoy সংসার সুখ বিশ্বরূপ মনে নিরবারে থাকে Krishna Ananda Kirtane. So he wasn't interested in, Vishwarup wasn't interested in ordinary life. Nirabare take Krishna Ananda Kirtane. Krishna Ananda Kirtane, all the time in Ananda of Krishna Kirtan. It means he's talking about Krishna all the time, or doing Kirtan, or associating with the Vaishnavas. Griha oilo, griha byabaha na kore, nirabare take Vishnu grihe bitore. He wouldn't do the household activities, he would nirabare take Vishnu grihe bitore, in the room of Lord Vishnu, in the deity room. So he's becoming quite a youth now, Vishwambar. Perhaps he's 17 or 18 years old, or even younger probably. But Shachi Mata and Jagadam Mishra, they begin to discuss his marriage. They begin to, now is the time. Bibaher udjoga koraho pita mata. Koraho pita mata, father and mother. Bibaher udjog, the time of marriage. They're thinking about koraho, they're beginning to arrange. So they began talking about it. So shune, just hearing that, because they're living together in a little cottage, and everything that there's just some grass walls. It's not big, thick. There's just grass walls in the hut. So they're talking Vishwarup and just how intimate they are as a family. They grew up like that. Everything that Jagadam Mishra and Sachimata said, Vishwarup and Nimai can hear. Amazing. So, Shune Vishwarup Boromone Paya Byata. Wow. Shune, when Visvarupa heard that Bibaha Udyog, about his marriage, they're talking, Visvarupa boro mone pai beata. He had great pain. Beata means pain. Pain. Boro mone pai. Boro, big pain in his mind. I guess. I won't go into discussing that, but I mean, that is a real sannyasi, that is a real brahmachari. Just the idea of marriage puts great pain in the mind. Wow. So I'm going to leave. He's thinking, I'm going to leave. Ishara chitta briti, ishara she jane. We don't know why he's thinking, we don't know why he does this. Take sannyas. It's very painful for the Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata, Visvarupa sannyas. You know, when Mahaprabhu took sannyas, we discussed that the other night in the GBC SPT. Mahaprabhu took sannyas and he just left. And Nityananda tricked him. We'll take him to Shantipur, brought all the devotees to Shantipur. And when Sachimata came, and she sees Nimai pays obeisances, and the first thing she says, do not do like Visvarupa, and who never gave me audience again. I can't do that, I can't tolerate that. So therefore Mahaprabhu stayed in Jagannath Puri. So it was very painful. Visvarupa sannyas was very painful. We'll hear it. Ishvara chitte britti, ishvara she jane. The Lord knows his heart. He knows why he does what he does. Visvarupa sannyas koryala koto dine. So he took sannyas. He left. Jagata Viditanam Sri Shankararanya. Famous throughout the universe. Sri Shankara, he accepted the name. And it became famous throughout the universe. Right? Which means Jagata Viditanam means a universally famous name. So maybe Sri Shankararanya, maybe Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement will be further preached so that the whole universe knows about the Navadip Leela and Visvarupa and his sannyas name. And this Leela, this pastime of Visvarupa taking sannyas, the Jagat, the whole universe will get to know about this, but we have to reveal, we have to preach Krishna consciousness and reveal Goloketa Prem Dhan, Harinam Sankirtan, to the people that the riches of the spiritual world are available in the Nam Sankirtan movement. And then they'll hear about Sankararanya. He'll become Jagate Vidita, famous throughout the universe. Cholila Anantapote Vaishnav Graganna. He's the best of the Vaishnav. Vaishnav Graganna. Cholila Anantapote. Cholila, he went on the Anantapote, on the path of eternal life. That's the sannyas at Visvarupa. Like Mahaprabhu's sannyas. He jumps in the Maganga, he's thinking he's floating to Shantipur. He's got nothing. It's not that if he left his phone on Gamsha on the bank with his friend. He's got no key. He's got nothing. That's sannyas. He's just completely nothing. Krishna will provide. And he wanders through South India. You can't even do that now. In the modern times, the police would arrest you for vagrancy. I don't think you can wander. ISKCON, okay, with wind, we can go from ISKCON to ISKCON. Within Mayapur, you could do, but that's the Anantapot. That's the Anantapot. Therefore, not possible for the ordinary. In ISKCON, sannyasis, they don't actually do that. I mean, they do for preaching, but it's not like they go and you never hear of them again. Everything is facility, institute. The sannyasis, they help the institute, and the institute helps the sannyasis. That's the ISKCON. The sannyasis help the institute because they're emblems of Brahminical culture and renunciation. They're great inspiration. And the institute helps the sannyasis. Without ISKCON, it'd be tough for the sannyasi. But in ISKCON, they can get full facility for preaching. But this Anantapot, ultimately, that's the mission of the Lord. Anantapot. But Visvarupa sannyas was like, never heard anything of him again. It just completely a real social death. No messages, nothing. Not even hear of him. So therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he lived in Puri. Because there was regular coming and going. Every year the Vaishnavas from Navadip would go to Jagannath Puri. And in this way, and 2 or 3 occasions Mahaprabhu came to Bengal after taking sannyas. So Sachimata. Now the effect that had on the devotees was just Goshti Shaha, Krandan, Kuraya Ubhar, the family, Goshti Shaha, all of the family, Krandan, Kuraha Ubhar, they cried incessantly. Baire Biraha Murcha Gelo Godorai, and Baire Birahe, separation from his brother. Baire Bihare, separation from his brother. Murcha Gelo Godorai, separation from his brother made him unconscious. Murcha Gelo Godorai. He fell unconscious when he heard about Visvarupa Sannyasa. Godorai. Shai Bidaha Barnite Badane Nahi Pari. I cannot speak about that feelings of separation. Shai Bidahe Biraha Barnite, to describe it, Badane Nahi Pari, I do not have words. Badane, I'm unable to describe that, the feelings of the family members in response to Visvarupa's sannyas. Hoilukrandan Mai Jagannatha Puri, and the Jagannath Puri means the home of Jagannath Mishra, which is to Krandan Mai. It was full of tears, incessant tears, and wailing. Visvarupa Shannash, Dekiya Bhaktagan, Advaita Acharya, all the devotees. Visvarupa Shannash, Dekiya Bhaktagan, Advaita Shabai Bahu Korile Krandan. Advaita Shabai, Korile Krandan, they all cried. Headed by Advaita Adi, headed by Advaita Acharya. Advaita Adi, Shabai Bahu Korile Krandan. Beginning with Advaita Acharya, or mostly by Advaita Acharya. Shabai Bahu Korile Krandan, they cried so much. Visvarupa sannyas. All of Nadia, Uttam, Madhyam, Jai Shunila, Nodiyai, Heno Nahi, Jai Shunya, Dukha Nahi Pai. No one who heard this, and everybody, whether they're Uttam, Madhyam, big or medium, Jai Shunya, Nodiyai, all through Nadia. Jai Shunya, Dukha Nahi Pai. Everyone felt, there was no one who didn't feel unhappy and feel pain about this, in all of Nadia. Jagannath Sachir, Bidirna Hoy Bhok, the pain in their chests of Jagannath and Sachimata. Niranta Dake, Visvarup, Visvarup. Niranta Dake, endlessly they're calling out, Visvarup, Visvarup. They're crying and calling out, Visvarup, Visvarup, endlessly. And Vrindavan's Thakur, he has no words to describe this. That's not it, that's just the words, that's just his non-description of it. Imagine, just think of this. He says, I don't have the words to describe it. But he just speaks those things. They're constantly calling out, Niranta Dake, Visvarup, Visvarup. But all the people, all the neighbors of Jagannath Mishra, they're trying to counsel him. And they said that Goshti Purush Cha Koraya Shanash. Goshti Purush, in the family line, Jar Koraya Shanyas, if someone takes sannyas, 3 koti kuler hoy Sri Vaikuntha Bash. 3 koti kuler. That 3 koti means 30 million. 3 koti. 30 million of your ancestors. Hoy Sri Vaikuntha Vas. If you take sannyas. 30 million of your ancestors attain Vaikuntha if a person takes sannyas. But that didn't even mitigate Jagannath Mishra's pain. Dilen Krishna Shai Putra Nilen Krishna Shai. Jagannath Mishra, he's explaining how he's thinking. Dilen Krishna Shai Putra. That son was given by Krishna. Nilen Krishna Shai, and that same Krishna, he took my son. Jai Krishna Chandra Icha, Hoyibe Shai Shai, Jai Krishna Chandra Icha, Hoyibe. Whatever the Lord desires, that will happen. So this is how a devotee deals with such extraordinary calamities in one's life. Krishna Icha. It says it's Krishna Chandra Icha. Hoibe Sheshe. Krishna Chandra Icha. Hoibe Sheshe. Just by hearing, by absorbing our minds. In the Gaur Modhu Lila, we can become Krishna conscious. We can learn how to actually respond to situations in life. We can say, Krishna Chandra Icha. Hoibe Sheshe. And in that way we'll be able to connect ourselves through the parampara of the great acharyas and the way they connect us to the Lord. Jai Jai Leela Koilo Jota Jota. The way the Leelas happened, here they are described. So that's what he said. That's what Jagannath Mishra said. A Rupe Jnana Jogi Mishra Mahadir. Mahadir, a very deep Mishra. Jagannath Mishra. Mahadir is a great deep thinker. A Mote Jnana Yogi. Jnana Yogi. That's Jnana Yogi. He says, Vrindavan's Thakur describes that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, that Vrindavan's Thakur, he said that Krishna gives, Krishna takes away. And he calls that Jnana Yoga. He says, understanding that is Jnana Yoga. Krishna gives, Krishna takes away. So a bhakta who thinks that Krishna gives, Krishna takes away, he's a jnani, jnanavan. He's a jnani. Because that's called Jnana Yoga. A Rupe, in this way, Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga. Mishra Mahadir, the greatly composed, Jagannath Mishra. Alpa alpa chitti britte koryelenshtir. Chitta britti means the fluctuations of the heart, the desires, the eruptions of desire. Chitta britti koryelenshtir. He was able to tolerate those. He was able to steady himself. Koryelenshtir. He was able to steady his heart and remove the chitta britti, the fluctuation of desire, by jnana yoga, by understanding that Krishna gave and Krishna took away. So this is how you tolerate, this is how the mind can make you create so much suffering in the mind. That Krishna gives, Krishna takes away. And this way, by jnana, you can control your mind, control your heart. Chitta britti, the desires, the fluctuatings of the desire. Henamate Vishwarup Hoilo Bahir. This is the description of Vishwarup leaving home. Nityananda Sharuper Abed Sharir. Nityananda Sharuper Abed Sharir. He's non-different from Lord Nityananda. Nityananda Abed. No. Nityananda Sharuper Abed Sharir. We don't take questions? No questions? Huh? I don't know, maybe I'll just go to 7 and finish. Unless, no, I'll carry on and finish. Yeah. No, maybe we'll take questions, yeah. We've got 8 minutes. We can take a couple of questions if anyone has questions.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Any questions? What a prashna? Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
No?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
What would you say about preaching all over the universe regarding the Vishwarup? Will you give little more thoughts, like what is like coming to your mind? That's like little unusual. I never heard before. Like.
Well, that's what we were just saying. That the Sankaranya, Sri Sankaranya, he was Jagat Vidit. His name was Nam Jagat Vidita. Was known all over the universe. So we were saying that if the Sankirtan movement spread all over the universe, then these pastimes will be known all over the universe. But what I'll describe now, I'll take a few more minutes, and we won't take more questions. I'll describe something. I'll finish off something here. This is interesting. Okay, so after Visvarupa took sannyas, Nimai, he became very good boy, very good boy. And he would study and very diligently, because he wanted to help, he wanted to appease Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata from their pain. So he was very ideal child and studying. Dekhiya apurva buddhi shobe prashangshe. And seeing his apurva buddhi, his unprecedented intelligence, because he could study and he was just like so ideal. Shabai bale dhanna pita mata heno bangshe. Dhanna pita mata, you're so fortunate to have such a child. This dynasty has become so fortunate to have such a child. So everyone was like elated hearing, you can imagine the child, everyone's so intelligent, everybody says that. So all the family were happy except Jagannath Mishra. When he would hear people glorify how intelligent is Nimai, he became very morose. And he explained that Sarva Shastra Marma Jani Visvarupa Dhir. This, all of the scriptures, Marma Jani, when the essence of all those was known to Visvarupa Dhir, Anitya Shangsha Hoite Hoilo Bahir, he lost interest in material life. So Jagannath Mishra is beginning to think that if Nimai becomes very educated, he'll also lose interest in material life. Eho, Jodi, Eho means this one. Eho. Right? He's talking about Satchidananda and he's standing there. He's saying, Visvarupa, he learned all the Shastras. He became so learned, he understood there's no happiness in material life. He became a sannyasi. He's pointing to Nimai. Eho, Jodi, Sarva Shastra Hoibe Jnanavan. If he becomes Sarva Shastra Hoibe Jnanavan, learned in all the Shastras, Chadiya Shankshar Shok Korebe Payan, he will also take the same path. He will also take the same path. So Jagannath Mishra said, therefore, he will no longer study. He will no longer study. He can just stay at home, I'll look after whatever he requires, but he's not going to learn any more. Sachimata, she argued that how will he be able to maintain his life if he's illiterate, and how will we get him married if he can't even read and write? And you're saying stay at home, no more study. He's a Brahmin, how are we going to even get him married? And Abodha Bipra Shuta, you are the ignorant daughter of a Brahmin, unintelligent daughter of a Brahmin. Abodha Bipra Shuta, he calls her. And he says, look at these Brahmins over here, that they're all starving, and there's people that can't even write their names, can't sign their names. And hundreds of pundits are lined up at their doors for some alms. What is the use of learning? If Krishna desires, you'll get everything. Padiya nahika karya baliluntomar. I've said to you now, Padiya nahika karya, no more studies for you. Murka hoy putra mor rahu matragora. But I'm going to keep, even if he's a fool, I'm going to keep my child in my home. Jai tomar ichha bap, thai dibo ami. Jai tomar ichha bap. Oh child, oh my child, Jai tomar ichha, whatever you desire, thai dibo ami, I will give you. Grihe basho parama mangale tako tumi. You stay at home in parama mangale, in comfort. So Nimai, he very respectfully observed the orders of his father, and he remained home, and he no longer went to schools for study. And what happens after that, we'll discuss what happens after that, the incidents follow this. We'll discuss when I am speaking here, and not tomorrow evening, but the evening after. Is there time for a question? Okay, yeah, question.
Hare.
Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, for narrating beautifully the Gaura Leela.
Prabhu.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My question is, we heard that Nityananda being the extension of Lord Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Aditya-charya is the incarnation. So what's the technical difference or similarity in calling the incarnation, expansion, partial expansion?
In 1 minute. Yes, you can read that actually. Sanatana Shikha, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Caitanya-charitamrita, Madhya-lila, chapter 24, 25, Sanatana Shikha. You can read all the different Tad Ekatma, Vaibhav, Vilas, Rup, all the different ones, how all the different expansions, Chatur, Narayan, and all those. You can read it there. I can't remember. But we know that Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan and Balaram is the Swayam Prakash, his first manifestation. Krishna is the original personality of God. Balaram is his first Swayam Prakash. And Brajendra Nandan Jai, Shachi Shuta Hoilo Shay, that Krishna, he became the Gaur. He's the same person, but he's a Brahmin family and he's going to do Vidya Leela and be Shachinandan Gaudhari. And Balarama Hoilo Nitai. Nityananda Prabhu, he's Lord Balaram, so that's who they are. Okay, so thank you all very much. Just to conclude, question? Well, our next event is ready. They should begin on time. Huh?
He has not come.
Not come yet. Okay.
As you said that Grihastha Sannyasa ashram is very easy, ISKCON.
I didn't say that.
What is your message for the community devotees as Grihastha?
I didn't say that. I didn't say. I never. You go through what? Or you go through my complete what I spoke. I never said that. I didn't say that. I said sannyasis are facilitated. Yes, the sannyasis are facilitated in ISKCON.
So how the community devotees has to?
Oh well, they have to facilitate. Yeah, I mean it's not generally. It's the culture in ISKCON. It's not just that's all. When I say ISKCON, I don't mean just that management. I mean the society of devotees. It's ISKCON, International Society. So the Grihastas, yeah, that is the life of the Grihasta. If they can serve a sannyasi, then that's why we need sannyasis, so we can serve them. And that's the natural interaction and the social platform. And that's the most convenient, most conducive for Krishna consciousness. So yeah, we should facilitate sannyasis. I mean, ISKCON, everyone is facilitated. There's so much Ashajya Punna, so much wealth in ISKCON for preaching. And the sannyasis are the preaching leaders of the preaching. If you can serve a sannyasi, then you're directly preaching. Jai. Let's, I'll conclude with this comment by Srila Vrindavandas Thakur. Jai Shuniye Visvarupa Prabhu Sannyas. Those who hear Visvarupa Sannyas, description, Jai Shuniye, Visvarupa Prabhu Sannyas, Krishna Bhakti Hoy Tar, Chinde Karma Pash. So Krishna Bhakti Hoy Tar, they get devotion to Krishna and all of their karma is destroyed. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shamabeta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Ananta Kori Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Vrindavandas Thakur ki jai, Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Sitanand Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. No, you can do kirtan.